you to imagine a room filled with excited children, each seated in front of a stage where an adult is about to perform a demonstration. On the stage is a large inflatable clown doll, colorful, smiling, and slightly ridiculous. The adult steps forward, smiles warmly at the children, and then, without warning, begins hitting, punching, and kicking the doll with surprise and ferocity. The children watch intently, their eyes wide, absorbing every detail of the adult's action. After the demonstration, each child is given a chance to play with the same doll. What do you think they do? Almost all of the children mimic the adult's behavior, attacking the clown with the same enthusiasm and intensity. No rewards were given, no instruction provided, yet the children imitated what they saw with startling accuracy. This scene wasn't some spontaneous act of chaos, it was part of a groundbreaking experiment by Albert Bandura. His Bobo doll experiments, conducted in the early 1960s, showed the world something revolutionary. People, especially children, learn by watching others, even without reinforcement or punishment. This simple yet powerful insight changed the way we understand human behavior, laying the foundation for Bandura's social learning theory and influencing countless therapeutic approaches we use today. You are listening to the Licensure Lifeline podcast. Welcome to the show. This is your host, Matt Lawson. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about Albert Bandura. Before we get started, just a reminder, check me out on Instagram. I'm also getting a Blue Sky account off the ground. Please, if you haven't already, go and write a review for the show. It helps other people find this podcast so that they can get support and information for doing better on the licensure exams. All right, let's get into Albert Bandura. He's a Canadian-American psychologist whose work revolutionized our understanding of learning, behavior, and therapy in general. He was born in a small town in Alberta, Canada, and he grew up with limited educational resources but cultivated a strong curiosity and determination toward learning. After earning his bachelor's degree from the University of British Columbia, he completed a PhD at the University of Iowa, where he was influenced by early behaviorists. Today, one of the applications that I see of social cognitive theory is people trying to understand behavior as it relates to things like video game play or violence that they see on television. This idea that kids see modeling through video games and on TV, and they act out. And I'm not saying that that is not a truth, but I am saying there it does go a bit deeper than kids just playing like Call of Duty and wanting to go out and commit violent acts. There's so much more nuance to the behaviors behind that we see with children and the way they act. So I guess this is my PSA to not blame the games as a gaming nerd myself. One of the nice things about Bandura's work is it can be applied across different modalities. It's not bound to a certain therapeutic way of being or doing that locks you into just doing psychoanalysis or CBT or something like that. If you think about how building confidence or overcoming fears through observation, through modeling, through learning self-efficacy can really help. But I want to expand upon some of these concepts and talk about them a little bit here. So let's get into observational learning and modeling. This is one of his more better known contributions. The idea that people learn from observing others. This is something I use a lot in my practice. I work with people that have a difficult time with socializing, especially after the pandemic. I saw so many individuals that almost had to relearn how to socialize and interact with other people. And coming to session and being able to observe me, working with them, talking to them, relating to them, having that interaction really helped with their ability to learn. So I would model what good interaction could look like with individuals. So applications in therapy are things like social skills training, kind of like what I just discovered or what I just described. But also think about people that have social anxiety or autism or other difficulties with interpersonal interactions, and they can observe and even role play some of these conversations to better themselves, better those situations. Group therapy is another place that I really like Bandura's work and this idea of observing and modeling others, being able to see how other people interact, watching their successful engagement in difficult conversations, learning how to better cope with challenges based on what they see other people doing. There's also a lot of work that can be done here with parenting interventions. Parents are often taught to model positive reinforcement and healthy discipline strategies so that their children learn pro social behaviors. I'm using Bandura's work. And if you think about parenting, if anybody out there is a parent or know of parents, um, so many individuals, and this is something that after becoming a parent, I learned about myself. Like a lot of the books and things like that, like you can read them and they're great, but so much of what I just automatically did came from the way I was parented. I find myself saying things that my parents said. So like I'm modeling, or my parents were modeling parented to me, and that's how I learned how to parent, or at least that's my where my brain goes when I think about how I need to parent. All right, self efficacy and cognitive behavior therapy. Bandura introduced the concept of self efficiency, which refers to an individual's belief in their ability to achieve goals or handle difficult situations. Self efficiency is now a key principle in cognitive behavior therapy and other interventions aimed at behavior change. So, you think about some of the applications here, anxiety and phobias. Clients with high anxiety often have low self efficacy in handling stressful situations. There is a mastery behind being able to handle stress in stressful situations. Oftentimes, you see people with phobias, it's based on a lack of mastery for situations because of some of the internal workings that have kind of gone out of whack around what they perceive as a stressful situation. In particular, I'm thinking of people I've worked with that have phobias of crossing bridges. Um, in their heads, they've come up with these scenarios of what's going to happen, what catastrophe is going to befall them if they cross a bridge or potentially could happen. And being able to master and look at that situation completely different, um, improve their self efficacy around crossing a bridge becomes the key component to working with somebody with this type of phobia. Another application would be with depression treatment. Here, you're encouraging small, achievable goals that can help the client develop a stronger sense of control over their lives. So much of what happens with depression leaves us in a place where we don't feel that we can effectively interact in our worlds, leaves us in a place where we feel helpless and hopeless about a situation. So, getting people to refocus on the things that they can achieve and building upon those small achievements, we can really help them toward becoming more self efficient. Another area of application for self efficacy is with substance use treatment. So, this is where you're going to be building that sense of self toward helping individuals believe that they can resist cravings and make healthier choices. Oftentimes, and this is again something I see a lot with people I work with around substance abuse, they feel powerless to the substance. They will use phrasing around like, I just can't resist it. And, once I get there, once I get in these situations, it just calls to me and I need to drink or I need to smoke or whatever. Um, this idea that they are powerless to these substances in their lives. So building up their ability to reframe this and kind of take that power back and establish like their ability to be self-efficient in these situations to really resist these cravings. It's more than just white knuckling type of resistance, but it's more of a self-talk, challenging these thoughts around being able to resist these things, and really trying to hammer home that they can do this on their own. um, that's the other piece of this, is there's a sense of weakness to substance use, and building up the individual to a place where they feel that they have the strength, that they can take that power back against the substances, is a big win when working in this world. Bandura's concept of reciprocal determinism suggests that behavior, personal factors like thoughts and emotions, and environment continuously influence each other. So nobody does things, nobody behaves in a certain way within a bubble, right? There's constantly input coming in, influence coming in that pushes the person in a certain direction based on what they're feeling, what they're doing. So the idea here becomes that in therapy, approaches can focus on how changing one's element of a person's experience can lead to a positive change in others. So basically, this is saying that making changes, positive changes in one area, could potentially result in positive changes in another area. You look at something like systems therapy, family systems therapy, where the therapist recognizes an individual's behavior is influenced by their family, work, and their cultural environment. So by making changes in one of those areas and teaching the individual how to better navigate those areas could translate to how to better navigate other areas of their lives. One of my favorite phrases in therapy is, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I so often see individuals that have are successful in one aspect of their lives but are struggling in another. So when you look at a concept like reciprocal determinism, you can say like, hey, you're on top of it at work, you're well organized, you are able to self-motivate and get things done. You already have those aspects of yourself. Why aren't you applying those toward, like, let's take weight loss or something like that, for instance? You can take something that you already know how to be organized, you already know how to be self-motivated, you already know these things. It's just a matter of shifting that frame of reference to some other aspects of your lives, being a better parent, being a better spouse, being better in the gym, all these different things. Um, a lot of the times people already have it within them to do these things, be on top of these things the way they want to. They just have to figure out how to reframe them from other aspects of their lives. Bandura is also known for his work in exposure therapy and fear reduction. So his research on modeling and self-efficacy heavily influenced the development of exposure therapy, especially for anxiety disorders and phobias. So, looking at application in therapy, you see things like vicarious exposure. Instead of exposing a client directly to a feared situation, they first watch someone else interact with the feared object or situation. So, I, s- I've seen people with fears of spiders. My wife has a horrible fear of spiders. And when I think of exposure therapy for somebody that's afraid of spiders, let's say, watching a video of a spider would probably be the first step. Exposure therapy is wonderful. If you've ever had any experience with it, done it yourself, seen it done, it's actually a really, really great approach. I love how there's a lot of steps to it that you can kind of take the person through it gradually. Vicarious exposure is like one of those first steps. Then you have graduated exposure, and then things potentially like virtual reality, um, to really ease the individual into better dealing with their phobias. I mentioned virtual reality therapy. This is a modern adaptation of Bandura's principles. VRT allows clients to experience feared situations in controlled digital settings. I've seen some really cool VR therapy devices that have come out. The one I'm thinking of in particular is, you sit in this chair that actually is modeled after an airplane chair, and you put on these goggles, and you can model, or you can expose people to um, turbulence, airplane turbulence, in the safety of an office. I'm a big fan of technology and therapy as well. I think that we're on the precipice of a lot of technological advances that can really, really help people. I'm hoping to see things like VR expand into therapy practice. I think one of the bigger barriers is price. I mean, what I just described, you can imagine cost a lot of money, and you're not going to find that in many regular therapy offices. It's probably something that you're going to find more in a hospital or a group setting. All right, let's go into some questions that you might see on the test. First up, which concept did Bandura develop to explain the belief in one's ability to succeed in specific situation? Is it reciprocal determinism, self-efficacy, observational learning, or behavioral modeling? Answer here is going to be self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is a central concept in Bandura's work, referring to the confidence individuals have in their ability to achieve specific goals. Next question. Bandura's Bobo doll experiment demonstrated which key principle? Reinforcement is necessary for learning to occur. Learning can occur through observation alone. Behavior is shaped solely by environmental factors, or punishment is more effective than reward in behavior modification. Answer here is going to be B. Learning can occur through observation alone. The Bobo doll experiment showed that children imitate aggressive behavior. They observe in adults, even without direct reinforcement. Next question. What does Bandura's concept of reciprocal determinism emphasize? Is it A, behaviors are influenced only by environmental factors, B, individuals learn solely through trial and error, C, personal factors, behavior and environment influence each other, or D, observation is the primary driver of all behavior? Answer here is going to be C, personal factors, behavior and environment influence each other. Reciprocal determinism highlights the dynamic interaction between a person, their actions, and the environment. That's the explanation. Question number 4. In which therapeutic setting would Bandura's principles of modeling and observational learning be most effectively utilized? Would it be A, group therapy with role-playing exercises, B, psychoanalytic therapy focused on unconscious drives, C, medication management sessions, or D, art therapy focused on creative expression? Answer here is going to be A, group therapy with role-playing exercises. Observational learning thrives in group settings where clients can watch peers demonstrate behaviors and practice them. Last question. What type of intervention best aligns with Bandura's emphasis on self-efficacy? Is it A, gradual exposure to fear stimuli, B, interpretation of dreams, C, immediate reinforcement for behavioral changes, or D, reconstructing early childhood memories? Answer here is going to be A, gradual exposure to fear stimuli. Gradual exposure builds self-efficacy by allowing clients to experience mastery over situations they previously feared. Let's go over some resources that you can utilize to learn a bit more about Albert Bandura. First up is going to be one of his books, Social Learning Theory by Albert Bandura. Um, Basically, this is his seminal work that really introduces the fundamentals of observational learning, modeling, and self-efficacy. Another one, Self-Efficiency, The Exercise of Control, also by Bandura. Um, Another book, More Disengagement, How People Do Harm and Live with Themselves, also by Albert Bandura. So he's a pretty prolific writer. There's going to be a lot of books by him that you can use to learn about his theories and utilizing them to support individuals. There's also a couple of videos out there that might be interesting for you. I do recommend finding the Bobo doll experiment. It's classic footage of some of the earlier experiments that I don't even know if you could do anymore, just given ethical considerations. Um, but Stanford University actually has a whole tribute thing to Albert Bandura that you might be able to find um, if you look it up. It just kind of gives some background on him. And then, of course, there's podcast from APA, and there's a Hidden Brain podcast through NPR. How we learn by watching others specifically goes into some of Bandura's works. All right, folks, that is going to be it for today. I can't believe I almost hit 20 minutes with this episode. Sorry that went so long. I really like Bandura's work. I use it a lot in the work that I do with people. Again, it's one of those theoretical approaches that just provides a really nice underlie for some of the other theoretical approaches that are out there. So until next time, keep learning.